Crimers, True Crimers. It is me, Dark Angel ASMR, and today I am back with another video. This video is going to be based on the Golden State Killer. Now I am going to be reading from my bullet points, my script, which is going to be over here on this side, which is why I'll be looking off to the side while I'm reading. But let's just get straight on into it. So, the Golden State Killer is known as one of the most notorious serial killers in the history of the United States. The Golden State Killer, also known as the Visalia ransacker, the East Area Sayer, and the original Night Stalker, operated between 1974 and 1986 in a region spanning from Sacramento to Santa Barbara County, carrying out a minimum of 13 homicides, over 50 SAs, and most likely more than 100 break-ins. So let us start from the beginning of his crimes. So in 1974, in Visalia, a small town located between Sacramento and Los Angeles, experienced over 100 burglaries. The thief would search through the residents' possessions, typically stealing inexpensive items, not much money, and women's underwear. In September of 1975, a man who was strongly suspected to be the Visalia ransacker entered Claude Snelling's home with the intention of kidnapping Snelling's daughter. The intruder shot Snelling 2 times and fled as Snelling passed away from the wounds. In December of that same year, there was another break-in attempt and shooting, but the ransacker managed to escape from the police once more. And you'll see that this is unfortunately a theme in this story. Following this attack in December, the incidents of burglary ceased in Visalia. During June of 1976, a serial SAer began targeting victims in the East Sacramento area. The offender started by following women in the vicinity and looking into their windows. On June 18th of 1976, he moved on to committing SA by breaking into the residence of a lone female in Rancho Cordova and SA'd her with a knife. He carried out a minimum of 49 additional SAs in the East Sacramento area and nearby cities, with the most recent documented assault occurring on June 11th, 1979 in Danville near Sacramento. During this time, officials report that the intruder would frequently follow his targets for multiple days and occasionally enter their residences to play string, which he would subsequently received phone calls from a man claiming to be the East Area SAer. He taunted police and at one point said, quote, "I have my next victim already stalked and you guys can't catch me," end quote. That same day, March 18th, 1977, the 15th attack took place. On the 2nd of February in 1978, a pair walking their dog in Rancho Cordova were shot and murdered. Almost 4 decades later, in 2016, authorities linked the killing of Brian and Kate Maggiore, I said that wrong, to the East Area SAer. The assaults spread to the Bay Area. Towards the end of 1978, the initial attack occurred at the residence of a woman in Concord. In the following months, additional incidents of SA were reported in San Jose, Danville, Fremont, and Walnut Creek. The most recent incident in the Bay Area occurred in July of 1979. On October 1st of 1979, a burglar entered a residence in Goleta, close to Santa Barbara. The intruder restrained the couple but had to escape when a neighbor overheard cries coming from the house. Almost 3 months afterward, a pair was discovered fatally shot in their residence in Goleta. It marked the beginning of more aggressive crimes in Southern California. In the following 2 years, an additional 7 individuals were discovered deceased in their residences in Santa Barbara and Irvine. A number of the victims were bound while they were attacked. The suspect was not initially linked to the crimes in Northern California. This man was dubbed the Night Stalker, but later was renamed the original Night Stalker after Richard Ramirez received the same moniker. The murder stopped in 1986 when he SA'd and murdered 18-year-old Janelle Cruz. Following the murder of Janelle Cruz in 1986, there were no additional crimes linked to the East Area SAer or the original Night Stalker. Although the 2 crime sprees were thought to be connected, it wasn't until 2001 that they were officially linked, when DNA evidence confirmed that the East Area SAer and the original Night Stalker were the same individual. Following this connection in 2001, there was a period of silence until 2016 when officials revealed a new attempt to apprehend the elusive perpetrator. On April 24th, 2018, the world saw the arrest of Joseph James D'Angelo, who was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder related to the original Night Stalker cases. It was also disclosed that he was heavily believed to be involved in connection to the Visalia ransacker incidents as well. D'Angelo faced charges in August of that year for 13 kidnappings/abduction attempts linked to the East Area SAer cases. He was not accused of the years old. Between 1973 and 1976, D'Angelo worked as a law enforcement officer in Exeter, a nearby small town to Visalia. In 1976, he began working for the police department in Auburn, located approximately a 30-minute drive away from Sacramento. In 1979, he was dismissed from his position for stealing a dog repellent and a hammer from a nearby store. He relocated to Citrus Heights in 1980 and resided there until he was arrested. And now you're most likely wondering, how was he caught after so many years? And although I'm sure that you heard of this case when he was apprehended, or maybe you haven't, I'm going to explain that right now. So, D'Angelo's identification was made possible using the genetic matching platform called GED Match, which allows users to upload their DNA information from services such as, but not limited to, 23andMe and MyHeritage for free. The police entered a DNA sample from a 1978 crime related to the Golden State Killer into a database in 2018. The DNA matched nearly 1 million profiles to one family, and combined with factors such as estimated age and location, officials were able to focus on one suspect. Following the identification of D'Angelo on April 19th, 2018, he was placed under police surveillance. The authorities collected DNA samples from his car, door, handle, and thrown away tissue, which they connected to DNA found at a crime scene involving the Golden State Killer. The utilization of DNA databases to ultimately capture the Golden State Killer sparks a lot of controversy. Some people think that using familial DNA to find and apprehend suspects in serious crimes is a violation of privacy, despite its widespread use by law enforcement agencies nationwide. Individuals who have not submitted a DNA sample can be recognized through distant relatives, as demonstrated in D'Angelo's situation. A study in Science magazine found that around 60% of individuals with European ancestry and about 40% of individuals with sub-Saharan African ancestry in America can be recognized using just the MyHeritage DNA database. And that right there is the case of the Golden State Killer. It was an unsolved series of murders for a very long time. I would even equate it to the popularity of, I wouldn't say popularity, the notoriety, you could say, of Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac Killer. I remember hearing about this before it was even solved. As for the DNA situation, I completely support the utilization of these DNA ancestries in apprehending criminals. I don't believe that it is a complete violation of privacy, because your information is only being used to link you to a distant family member that has committed a serious crime. I feel like the only type of person that would be adamantly against that would be a person who is committing serious crimes. But in this case, you saw how it can be used for extraordinary good. Even though he walked free, unfortunately, is that he stopped of his own accord. Typically, when a killer stops killing, the police will automatically assume that they either passed away, are in jail for a different crime, or have moved away from the area and cannot be connected to their crimes from the past. That is because it is very rare for a serial killer to just stop killing of their own accord. I think this is a very specific case. I didn't see too much information on sort of that area of it. I would love to know your thoughts on that in the comments.